Hey everyone, it's Dan Scott. And back in 2015, I made a video discussing the two words blessed and blissful, where I took the video down due to erroneous statements that I wanted to correct. And since I've also had the revelation of the watch times, of which the word blissful accords with the first three watch times. So the blissful expectation, Titus 2:13, has to also be correctly cut, which I'll talk more about later. But first understand that the word blessed or blessed is not the same as blissful. These lines have been seriously blurred in most Bible translations. You won't even find the word blissful, blissfulness, bliss in any other Bible translation except the DLT. And the reason you won't find them in other Bible translations is because they translated them all blessed or blessed. But that which accords with bliss is in a completely different word family and should never be translated bless or blessed, etc. And the family of words that accords with that which is blessed is from eulogeo, eu meaning well, and lego to speak, where lego is in the same word family as logos, a word or words, where in fact eulogeo is where we get our English word eulogy. So simply stated, the context of the word blessed, blessed, blessings, etc., has to do with the speaking of words, well words. And where to bless means to speak well of, to curse means to speak evil of. This is clearly seen in James 3:9. With the tongue we bless, we speak well of the Lord and Father, and with it we curse human, speak evil of. When Jesus commanded the 5,000 to sit in the grass and he took the fish and the bread, he looked up into the heaven and he blessed them. He spoke well of them. Matthew 14:19. So he wasn't speaking well of the food. No, he was blessing them, the people. So the context of blessings, etc., all has to do with words. However, the word blissful is translated from the Greek word makarios, where again it should never be translated blessed or blessing, etc. And the word blissful is the state of mind, the state of being, in relationship to that which is future, makran, in direct relationship to expectation, not hope, but expectation. Hence, blissful expectation, Titus chapter 2, verse 13. And just as the translators have mangled and twisted the context of what is blessings and what is blissful, well, they've done the same with the words expectation and hope. See my video, Hope versus Expectation. Because our understanding of the difference of hope and expectation also plays into our understanding of what blissfulness is in relationship to expectation, not hope, but expectation. So understand, it's not blessed hope, it's blissful expectation. Very important. Again, let me emphasize, we have four words here that have been seriously mishandled. The word blissful has been translated blessed. The Greek word which expresses confident expectation has been translated as uncertain hope. And when one negates the concept of what is blissfulness by translating it blessed, how is one to perceive what is a blissful expectation? So what is blissful? Well, simply it's a state of mind according to being withdrawn from the present and being all about the future in a readily receptive mindset. Again, according to confident expectation, where the word hope always carries with it an element of uncertainty. However, that which one can place confident expectation in is based on what God has promised, according to what he has talked through the prophets, in the writings, in the readable, of which the Lord has communicated many things we can expect. You can literally bet your life on it. Now also understand, blissfulness is a state of mind in our present condition in the flesh, as we below abide in Christ, according to our below standing in our faith. So the blissful expectation goes hand in hand with faith. And also, as we below abide in our faithing, our present conditions and circumstances, things that we experience, things that we see, are not the basis for such bliss. Because expectation being seen is not expectation. And another very important verse, according to the definition of faithing, in connection with blissful expectation, is found here in Hebrews 11:1, where most Bible translations again have mistranslated the Greek word elpizo as hope, uncertain hope, where the true definition expresses confident expectation. And this verse actually defines faith. We read, faithing is a below standing concerning that being expected, not hoped for, but expected, elpizo. Faithing involves a conviction concerning matters of fact, not being seen. Again, matters of fact spoken through the prophets, where the word prophecy means pre-explanation. Not predictions, but matters of fact that we can expect into because God has promised them. And blissful expectation involves being readily receptive, which is simply all about expecting to receive something that God has promised. In the fulfillment of such, again, concerning matters of fact not presently seen, hence receptively out-oriented, from the preposition ek, out of the present circumstances into the new. So understand that blissfulness is not according to the present condition as to what we can have, according to what most Christians define as blessings, things, possessions according to the now present below standing. No, the blissful is according to expectation concerning things not seen, not yet manifested. Because again, that being seen is not expectation, and one cannot faith into that which he sees. For does anyone also then below abide in regards to what he sees? But if we expect what we do not see, through below abidance, we are receptively out-oriented. So seeing signs and wonders, for example, is contrary to faithing and below abidance, and therefore would be contrary to having a blissful expectation, where the word below abidance simply means to abide under that which is imposed upon one, as one exercises their faithing and shows themselves to be faithful. Below abidance is a demonstration of showing consistency in the lowering of oneself under the hand of God. And regardless of one's circumstances, blissfulness involves absolute unworriedness, regardless of whether our circumstances are favorable or unfavorable at any given time. Blissful is a reason for deep joy, but being joyful in expectation, below abiding, is in affliction, Romans 12:12. So the bliss of the blissful expectation is reason for deep joy and peace. Not because of our so-called blessings, but because we know what our future holds. So we should never confuse the emotion of bliss with things we see, according to the faulty concept of blessings, popularized by the so-called prosperity movement, the word of faith movement, which blessings have nothing to do with your possessions, as I showed you earlier, according to the word family. If your basis for joy and peace is on what you possess, this is not the definition of blissfulness. And those who want to hold on to their possessions are not readily receptive to enter the regency, because the instructions to become prepared according to the blissful expectation is to sell your possessions, which instructions according to the bliss, of entering the second and third watch time is to sell your possessions, Luke 12:33. And back in 2015, when I originally made this video, I had not the revelation concerning the watch times, where just like everything has to be correctly cut, so does blissfulness, because it also accords with the first 3 watch times. Luke 12:38, which of course accords with the second and the third watch time, where first is not mentioned here for very specific reason, because those who Jesus is speaking to here in Luke chapter 12 will not have entered at first watch time. Where on the screen here, the statement according to the blissful are the eyes of those seeing what you see, is different from the statement in Matthew 13:16, blissful are your eyes. And that the 70 accord with the first watch time is in relationship to the statement that their names were having been written in the heavens. See my video, Sheep and Lambs. And according to this resurrection class, the out-resurrection, others will not have entered because they were not readily receptive according to the blissful expectation in relationship to that specific watch time, due to many reasons, but largely according to little or weak faith. And unlike the unwritten in the heavens, others are said to be recorded in the heavens, Hebrews 12:23, which has its context according to the midnight all convocation, according to the parable of the 10 virgins, where the sober-minded enter in the middle of the night, which is the finishing of the second watch time. This is the context of the blissful according to Matthew 13:16, for those who are sober-minded into that hour. Whereas I talk about in my video, Sheep and Lambs, when Jesus sent the 12, he instructed them, become sober-minded. In that not all possess the blissful expectation at the same time is seen right here in Luke 12:38, where the first is not named, but the second and third are. And the reason that the first watch time is not mentioned is because those Jesus is addressing as small herdlet in Luke 12:32 were not receptively out-oriented. Their bliss will not have been according to the same bliss of which Jesus spoke to the 70 fatted lambs. The small little herdlet will not have been fatted as the lambs were fatted. Again, see my video, Sheep and Lambs. So the first watch time will have already become manifested for those who enter the wedding at eventide, first watch time. So why are these not prepared? Well, if you back up and read this chapter, you see that it's due to many things, where Jesus gives instructions concerning coveting of possessions, not worrying about what one should wear, what one should eat, where Jesus actually calls them little faithing ones, Luke 12:28. Then when we come to verse 32, Jesus tells them, fear not, indicating that they are fearing. And the fearing one has not been accomplished in the love, 1 John 4:16. And again, the word blissful is an absolute unworriedness concerning the future, and fear, covetousness, worrying, and little faith are not characterized by blissful expectation in a readily, receptively out orientation. So the instructions of the small herdlet in Luke chapter 12 concern subsequent watch times, that they become prepared to enter the wedding. And the readily receptive of verse 36 will accord with the next who will enter the wedding at midnight among the sober-minded virgins. Where here in verse 36 we see again readily receptive, where he said, you be like human, which indicates they're still flesh and blood human beings. They have not been manifested in glory as those according to the first watch time who already entered. Where once one enters the regency, there is no more blissful expectation, but only a manifestation, that being in glory. Sons of God manifested, sons of the resurrection equal to angels, Luke chapter 20, verses 35 and 36. And the statement according to the up-loosening going away out of the wedding shows that the wedding is already in progress according to the first watch time, because those who had entered were readily receptive according to the blissful expectation of first watch time, as was the pursuit of the Apostle Paul into the out-resurrection, Philippians chapter 3, verses 11 through 14. And to be deemed accordingly worthy of such requires a pursuing into becoming accomplished, that we be no more minors, surging ones, being carried about in every wind of the teaching, in the caprice of human, in cunningness, to the method of the error. So what Jesus is really saying in verse 32 is that it also well deems the Father to give you the regency, just as he has those who have already entered. Sell your possessions, etc., etc. Become ready. Be readily receptive to your Lord. Where again, the preceding characteristics are according to the small herdlet. So many will have to become readily receptive according to blissful expectation and absolute unworriedness concerning the future, beginning at eventide, that they may find entry in the transition from midnight into the third watch time, where the last to allot the regency and enter the wedding will be according to the all finished of third watch time. And the blissful of third watch time is the exact context of the so-called Beatitudes, The audience Jesus was addressing when he first began his ministry are the foremost who will be the last, which I talk about in many other videos. And the audience of Luke 12 concerns those who will come in the middle. That is, if they become prepared in the context of the second watch time, not the third. So understand, there's a blissful expectation according to those readily receptive into the first watch time where others are not. Then those who had not a blissful expectation will become readily receptive into the Lord's coming at midnight. Then again, those who had no blissful expectation, who were locked out of the door at midnight, will find their bliss in the third watch time. And there is no blissful expectation according to a fourth watch time, but only a curse. Matthew 25:46. So out of the 50 total occurrences of the adjective blissful, the context falls either into the first, the second, or the third watch time. And specifically in relationship to the statement of Luke 12:38, with the first watch time absent is the context of from the now on of Luke 12:52. Eventide is from the now on that leads into the transition at midnight, according to the parable of the 10 virgins in the middle of the night. The 5 here are the 5 virgins who will be in one dwelling site, having been thoroughly parted towards one another. Hence 5 sober-minded, 5 foolish. Where the 2 on account of the 3 and the 3 on account of the 2 is specific to Luke 12:38 and the second and the third watch times, the midnight transition. And the last leg of the through carrying will be from midnight to cock's voice, where blissful are the poor, and the mourning, and the meek, and the hungering, where their hallowing will have to come in among the last to allot the regency, and hence all Israel will be saved. And in my own diligence, I have looked at all of these occurrences of the word blissful, and I've determined the context of each occurrence as to which watch time they pertain to, where I've made this chart here that you see on the screen, whereas in my other videos, the corresponding color codes accords with the first 3 watch times, where there is no black because there is no blissfulness according to the 4th watch time. And although I'm sure you can't read this chart because it's so small, anybody who's interested in receiving a copy, just email me at therevelationdeception@gmail.com. And if I'm still around, I will gladly email you a copy. But what's important to perceive here is the true context of the blissfulness according to expectation, according to our active faithing in below abidance, which has nothing to do with the so-called prosperity gospel, according to the misuse of the word blessings, where this concept has been all but hidden in all Bible translations. So, I pray that you begin to understand the very important context of having a pattern of words being healthy and begin searching the Word of God for yourself, because without words, thinking is impossible, and without healthy words, your thinking becomes sick. And what one deems that they possess may not be the truth, because the basis of what they think they understand is faulty. Or they're just merely hoping for this and hoping for that, which again, hope always carries an element of uncertainty. And faith is not hope. Faith is expectation. And the blissful expectation accords with being readily receptive as accomplished in the faithing, according to knowledge, according to understanding what God has promised and spoken in His writ, the rhema, the talk. And if one knows not what the word says, well, how can one expect into the matters of fact that God has given us to faith into? Where also Jesus stated, everyone hearing the word of the regency but not understanding it, the evil one comes and robs that having been sown in his heart. This is the seed having been sown beside the way. And if one is beside the way in their lack of understanding, they're not standing according to the blissful expectation. Where also Jesus said, if that one had perceived in what kind of watch time the thief comes, he would as it were have watched. He would not as it were let his house be dug through. So you also become prepared, since in an hour which you do not deem the Son of the human comes. And how does one become prepared? Well, by slipping into the all armor. that you may be able to withstand the methods of diabolos while at the same time subordinating to God.